What's up, everybody? Welcome to Room and Board. My name is Chris George, and today we have another episode of Crowdfunding Countdown, where we go from heifer to dairy to everything in between. Damn it, it happened again. This is Crowdfunding Countdown, I almost said it again, where we take a look at every single board game campaign finishing up this week, seeing which ones haven't yet canceled and have even just made it to that final week of funding, which is a significant factor. And that way we can take a look at all the stretch goals and see if they outweigh all the ridiculous shipping costs, or if the games are even going to retail at all. But first off, as always, shout out to my newest patron. Only one shout out this week, but it's still no less meaningful. Thank you, Kyle, for coming on board. Not only are you fantastic, and I appreciate it so much, and you help me feel better about spending a stupid amount of time researching these videos in particular, but that also brings our Kyle tally to 3. Equal to our Scott tally. Soon we'll have enough for a pickup dodgeball game. It's as they always say, bring me your tired, your hungry, your Kyles and your Scotts. My name is the Statue of Liberty. And with that, onto the games. Here's everything leaving Kickstarter this week. No GameFound campaigns this week. And if I don't mention something, well, you can assume it doesn't exist. Or I just missed it. One or the other. Or I thought it was so bad that I didn't feel like covering it. But I'm sure that's not the one that you're going to bring up. Because really, I really like to talk about the bad ones too, so. Anyway, first up we have Valiant Defense Lanzerath Ridge. And Lanzerath Ridge is a solitaire war game that takes place on the first day of the Battle of the Bulge in the Second World War. You're going to take control of a small group of American soldiers, and you're going to have to fend off the attacks by the Germans. Now, I don't know too much about war games. I do know a little bit about spy games, and that Robert Redford certainly won't be moving to that oceanfront property anytime soon. Spoiler alert. But war games I really tend to not know much about because my preferences skew in a different direction. But I don't make these for me, I make these for you, so I wanted to mention it. It's $60 US, and I can really only compare that to whatever game Compass Games has on the go at any given point. And those are usually a lot more than that, so there might be potential here, especially for all of you solo gamers out there, in honor of our current board game bracket deathmatch tournament TM unfolding this month over on our Discord. Which, hey, if you're a Patreon, you get access to this cool, fun thing that we get to every day. Ooh, FOMO alert. Anyway, if you are interested in that solitaire war game experience, check it out. You have until Wednesday at 3 p.m. to decide. Now, next up, we have a slide puzzle. Yeah, it's just a plain old slide puzzle. Well, yours will be new, it won't be old. But if you're tired of those slide puzzles that are made out of plastic, well, here you can get one that's made out of wood. And I really believe that it's only my love for Survivor and their penchants for slide puzzles that make me bring this up at all. But for 22 euros or 32 bucks Canadian, you can get a wooden slide puzzle of an Ouroboros eating its own tail. And I mean, honestly, the design looks really cool. Also why I wanted to mention it. They say there's 5 variations. There isn't. And especially because the picture next to it is a picture of their previous Kickstarter about dice that you could assemble, a dice puzzle. It might look like you're getting a lot of stuff, but really you're only getting this one 4x4 slide puzzle. So there are 5 different variations, they're really just talking about their colors. And if I know anything from reading their campaign page, well, you will definitely like these colors. Also, something that made me chuckle was they describe it as a fully sanded surface to allow your knuckles to move around with ease, giving you a pleasant tactile sensation. And until I realized that the little pieces of a slide puzzle were called knuckles, I really had a great image of you're not going to use your fingers to solve this puzzle. You can only hack at it with your hooves to try to see if you can win immunity in time. Anyway, that's it for that one. If you are interested, that's next Wednesday as well at 6:37 p.m. Now, on to an actual game. Just think of the things that didn't make the cut if we were talking about those two. But next up we have Jungleball, where you draft a team of animals for a dodgeball game. Yeah, now we're getting into the good stuff. For 25 bucks US or 32 Canadian, you can get yourself one copy of the amazing game of Jungleball. It's true, they say so on the campaign page. Certified amazing. But I mean, the concept does look amazing. It looks pretty cute. There's 21 different animals, 21 cards. You're going to deal out 10 face up, and you're going to draft a team of 5 each. You won't use the other 11 animals for that particular game, and then you're just going to throw dodgeballs at each other. And you do that by holding a little dodgeball within 1 inch of wherever your player is, and then throwing it and trying to land it on another player. That's it. It's a mini dodgeball game, and it looks cute, it looks fun, the art looks fun. I'm very glad it's funding, but realistically, after the shipping costs, it's not something that I want to pay 45 bucks for. But if you are interested, that is next Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. Now for our next one, did anyone ever collect baseball cards back in the day? I certainly did not, but I'm wondering if there ever was a game associated with them. I don't think there is, but if there was, I imagine it would be something like Bat Flip, which is our next game. I mean, hey, just look at how macho those baseball players are. And did you know that Cubs first baseman Frank Schwindel loves Bat Flip? I mean, he says so in a video that's clearly a cameo. So he was paid to say it and probably has never played it, but hey, he loves it! I just don't ever understand the marketing behind using a cameo on your campaign page. I mean, I'm sure it was just this fun little thing and they were just putting it up there. And this isn't even the first campaign page to put it at the top of the campaign page, the first thing you see. And it's just so clear that they were paid to say it. If they weren't, it wouldn't be branded with the cameo watermark. I mean, hey, if anybody ever wants to pay me to say something about their game, let me know. I will set up a Cameo account. I'll get it specifically for this and I will say whatever you want. But full disclosure, I will make fun of you in these videos and whenever I talk about your game. But that aside, I do like some of the stuff in this. It kind of looks fun. You get 7 decks and you smash 2 of them together to create your baseball team, which I like. I like the variability on that. It's just a 2-player experience, so you're going to be able to mix and match the decks quite a lot. And then you're going to draw a hand of 5, and you have hitters and pitchers, and you're going to assign a pitcher to that opponent's field, and then you're going to play your hitters and see if they can run around the bases or see if the other player's cards have a defense stat that equals your hitting stat and can take you out of the running. And if they do take you out of the running, as any baseball game I've ever seen, the defender then gets discarded and goes and sits in a field and plucks dandelions until everyone on their team has had a turn. Then you keep on drawing cards whenever there's a run or whenever there's an out, and you just play for 3 innings and see who gets the most runs in those innings. And this one seems complicated, simple, if that makes any sense. I think the idea of comparing stats makes it feel like there's a lot going on, but the actual calculations that you're going to have to make are going to be probably mostly random. You see what you have in your hand. It's not like you're going to save your cards to take out harder players. Maybe you will. Maybe there'll be a balance of, oh, I have this really good card and he's trying to tempt me into using the defense on that. That could be interesting. But generally, I feel like it will go the same way as whenever I've played baseball, which is only the luckiest team wins, and I'm never on it. Anyway, if you're in the US, maybe consider it. $5 to $10 US. And if you are interested, that finishes Thursday the 17th at 9:59 a.m. Now, next up we have a game called Monsters and the Things That Destroy Them, whose tagline is a sneaky 21-card game for bluffers and double bluffers of all ages. Hey, that sounds like me! And it's very simple. You take turns drawing cards from a face-up row, hoping at the end to have the best 2-card combination of either monsters or things. But each monster and thing have a point value assigned to them, so the highest points wins. So you can pick up monsters, which trigger an effect immediately when you pick them up. Always great. Or you can pick up things, which don't trigger an effect, but if someone plays the corresponding monster at the end, you can use the thing to destroy them completely and get a better score. Then the things go from not being able to do anything to bumping in the night. Dang it, no, that's still a monster. Then the things get to emerge from the Black Lagoon. No, then the things get to team up with Sue Storm's stretchy husband, and the mascot for Burning Man. You can just use the thing to kill the monsters, that's all I'm saying. The things, they are not sentient, which is what I tell myself every night when I wake up and see Umbrello standing over my bed. Now it's $15 US, and it is free shipping to the US, which feels like a really decent price point. Definitely for what it is. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily the bluffing game of the century. It compares itself to Coup and Love Letter, and, well, I love Coup, so, but I'd give it Love Letter. I'd give it the Love Letter comparison. But you have a hand limit of 3, which is the most important part about this game and what I think makes the game tick, because you're going to be constantly picking up cards which your opponents can see, and then when you're over your hand limit, discarding into a face-down discard pile. So at the end of the game, you're still going to only have 3 cards to choose from your final 2, but there will be these interesting moments of, okay, I've taken the old one, he's worth 12 points. And then my opponent sees the thing that kills the old one and puts that into their hand. And so then the mind game begins of, well, I better get rid of the old one. But did you actually get rid of it? Or are you just trying to bluff your opponent into getting rid of their thing, or to hold on to their thing so that you can get the next best monster? So I think that push and pull is going to be a fun one for this one. $10 shipping to Canada makes it a pass for me, but if you are in the US and you like bluffing games and you're looking for this sort of light bluffing game, I don't know. The more I talk about it, the more I turn the corner on this one. So check it out. That's Thursday at 10 p.m. Now, next up, we have Mind Management, and choo-choo, everybody aboard the hype train. This is your chance to get the deluxe version about the game that everyone and their dog have been screaming at you while you're trying to sleep. Every time I close my eyes, another member of the YouTube syndicate sneaks into my room and pries my eyes open and makes me watch 12 hours of promotional material that I can only describe as best practices, which I don't even know what that means. But I know if I don't say it, I'm fairly certain the kill switch will detonate in my brain. Now, that being said, this is a hidden movement game where you're going to be running around the board secretly, recruiting new agents to the glorious mind police or wherever you're from, while trying not to be caught by the rogue agents while you poison the minds. Instruct the common people on what is good and right for them. Or if you're playing the side of the rogue agents, you get to run around the board and try to reduce the number of locations that the Mind MGMT might have MGM been. So, for $112 Canadian or $88 US, you can get the deluxe version with lots of wood. And hey, don't worry, because there's going to be some secret wood that you don't know about, but it'll be in there as well. But the thing is, you can also get it for $42.95, the retail version, $42.95 Canadian at 401 Games. And that seems like a really reasonable and great rate if you like hidden movement games. I know everybody on my Discord has been excited about this. We're talking about the deluxe edition. People have been receiving their copies and they have been very thrilled to get them. In addition to all of the positive reviews by the hordes of reviewers who have taken a crack at this so far. I mean, the basic bones of it feel like competitive cryptid to me, which sounds very appealing, but I also think there's absolutely no need to get this on Kickstarter because from what I've heard, at least from the members of my Discord, the retail version still feels very quality. It's not going to be a huge downgrade in quality. For the amount of differences that you do get, I'm not sure that's worth triple the price tag. Actually, I am sure it's not worth triple the price tag. Just be honest about it. But I do think mechanically this one is really worth checking out. I am believing the hype a bit after now having read the rulebook and looked into it a decent amount. And I've only scratched the surface with the cool things that they've thrown in. There were these hidden codes that you could input and download secret cards, so they're actually printing those in this campaign run. Or you can get those, and only those shipped to you. They're $8 and plus $8 shipping, so I would just print them. And there's also this fun shift mechanic, which basically gives you this campaign to go through one team against the other, and whichever team loses, they get a bonus, a boost going into the next game. But you do get all of this stuff in the retail box as well, or you can figure out ways to print the secret cards at least. And you are getting the best deal at retail, since the original campaign offered the retail version for $64 Canadian plus shipping. So that's what happens when a game blows up, I guess, and wide availability starts to occur. Check it out if you do want the deluxe copy, but really know that this isn't your only way to get this thing. I mean, it's the only way to get the deluxe copy, sure, but I really don't think you would need the deluxe copy, and it being such an affordable price point at a store, $42 plus tax, that feels really nice for what this game is providing you if you do like that hidden movement genre. So if you are interested, that finishes at Saturday at 12 a.m., aka Friday night. Next, moving along, we have Old London Bridge. It's Fallen Down, which is by Queen Games, so you would assume that the Kickstarter price would be stupidly overpriced and have them just trying to take advantage of their ever-dwindling fan base. And while their MSRP projections is most certainly overinflated, this one at $49 US seems like they're not trying to gouge their customers like they were doing in the Steffenfeld City Collection. Seems like I'm still a little annoyed about that one, and I guess I would like to cement that annoyance by making sure that Queen Games never sends me anything anytime soon. But for this one, the gameplay seems streamlined and simple. It's going to take place over 12 rounds. Every round you build a building and add it to your little London Bridge row. Take its action, whatever action it gives you, and then prepare for the next round. But you can only build the buildings in descending order. So the buildings are all numbered from 60 to 0, and you have to keep on going down, or you play a park, which resets your line and allows you to start at the top again. And you're trying to get the most money, and the wealthiest player wins the game. So mechanically, sure, I think this looks like a pretty fun time. Decent enough. And for 49 bucks US, I don't know. Probably wish it was cheaper. I don't know what the shipping is because, hey, they don't give you a shipping estimate. They just have a note that says if you don't get friendly shipping, so if you're not in Canada, the US, or the EU, Queen Games is not responsible for any local charges, custom fees, pretty standard, or if a local carrier loses your package. In this case, we don't have to reimburse you. It's just lost, and we won't send you another game either. So great job, Queen Games. You are once again making sure to emphasize to your customers that your customer service is pretty much non-existent. I was wondering why there was such a bad taste in my memory. I thought, Queen Games, oh yeah, I think I really dislike them. But this campaign looks decent and it doesn't look gouging, and then, oh yeah, here we are. By the way, if someone else loses your package, we're not giving you another one. Okay, just flat out. I mean, I know it's legalese and you want to cover your bases, but like, I don't know. That's it for Old London Bridge. See you in the next one. But if you are interested, that's Sunday the 20th at 10 a.m. Now next up we have a game which I will be horrible at, and that is Ostia. And why will I be horrible at it? Well, because I am horrible at Trajan. And if this didn't say right up front that it was inspired by Trajan, anyone who's played Trajan would sue it for plagiarism, for Trajanism. Although there are quite a few major differences, I'm not saying it's a ripoff of Trajan, I'm just saying that the core mechanic, the core that breaks my brain even more than any agents from Mind Management, is this circular Mancala element. So you're going to choose a quadrant of your board. There's 6 quadrants. Yeah, I bet you thought that there would be 4 quadrants since I said quadrant, but nope, I'm doubling down on this. There are 6 quadrants on your board, and you're going to choose one, and you're going to move all of your ships from that space, dropping one off clockwise until you run out of ships. And wherever you drop your last ship, you get to take that specific action. And so every turn, you're going to be adding more ships, and you're going to be forgetting that you're going to add more ships, and you won't be able to take the actions that you want to take because you're a dumb idiot like me who can't think in advance. Now the twist in Trajan was that all the pieces that you're moving, they all had different colors, and you had to also think about placing specific colors in specific quadrants in order to activate bonuses. Now here, all the ships are the same color. You're not emulating that mechanic, but the twist here is that whenever you leave a certain space, you're taking your ships, you leave behind a resource for each ship that you pulled up from that space. And then wherever you land, you use the action and it is amplified by the number of specific resources on that spot. So you're gonna have to juggle stocking up ships all in one spot, then moving them all at once so you leave behind a bunch of resources, and then getting back to that spot to activate it using those resources at the most efficient time possible. Which will help you navigate around the board. You're going to be sailing your ships, collecting goods that you're going to have to use to fulfill citizens' needs like you would do in Trajan as well. Now this looks very complicated, and I already hate how bad I would be at this game. And yet, I also think it looks cool. So if you do love Trajan, or you've wanted to play something like Trajan, you've looked into it and you thought, oh, that looks cool, and you can't find a copy, well, this might be a no-brainer. Or it's a half-brainer, because maybe you already own Trajan and you don't play that nearly as much as you'd already like to, so why are you going to get a game that you're also not going to play at that amount? I don't know. I still think this one looks good. It's pretty expensive, or a little bit more expensive than I'd like, 80 bucks Canadian or $63 US. And then when you add the shipping on that, shipping to Canada is another $32. So that pretty much cancels it out for me. It's 19 bucks to the US, so your all-in cost there would be around 82 bucks. So maybe for those of you who live in the US. It's not the worst, it's not the best, but I think it does look sleek mechanically, and will likely hold up to its mental predecessor. So if you like complex Euros, definitely this is one to consider. And that finishes next Sunday, February 20th at 9:59 p.m. Now moving along, just 1 minute later, we have The Veil, which is the 3rd installment of the fantasy deck builder The Veil. now with 60 playable characters, and 3 solo or multiplayer campaign books. That sounds cool. That's what their tagline says. Now the bad news is this is Season 3, so these 60 playable characters really only applies if you have the full amount of stuff. And the other bad news is that this is incredibly expensive. Makes Ostia seem like a deal. It's $89 US or $113 Canadian just for this new original content, plus $12 to $32 in shipping. No thank you. Not even the Attack on Titan deck builder is worth that much. Well, maybe. Maybe it is. Don't take it away from me. Maybe it is. But the good news is that this is Season 3, so that there is a fan base, a small fan base that does keep on coming back and wanting more. And each one of these campaigns that they've had on Kickstarter, they started in 2018, it has done subsequently better. So it shows that the enthusiasm for this is only growing. Well, at least by the 141 people who have taken the plunge and made this funding successful, which is impressive that it is such a low amount, but also look at the prices. In terms of mechanics, this feels kind of like any standard deck builder. It doesn't seem like there's anything particularly innovative to me, but the draw here is that each character will have their own market to choose from. So a market specifically designed for their deck and for their character class. So the setting and the theme here are really important, I think, to the gameplay experience. And there is the campaign book that you can go through, but again, it's another $25 for this campaign book of scenarios. So I don't know. I think it's too bad they don't have a cheaper option for people who want to jump on board. The $89 is the new content. For everything, it's $360 US, which is just bananas to me. But hey, if that sounds incredibly interesting to you, well, that is Sunday at 10 p.m. Now, next up, we have a game that isn't currently funding, but it might reach its funding goal, so I figured I'd talk about it. It's a game called Covert Cues. And this is part Spyfall, part Just One, part Codenames, part that other game that I know exists that I can't remember the name of. But this is a word deduction game with secret roles. So there's a team of 2, there's the hacker and the admin, and they're trying to communicate to each other through subterfuge. So what will happen is there will be a communal word, a theme on the table in front of all the players. Then everyone will close their eyes, and individually the hacker and the admin will each get a chance to see the additional word that they have to communicate with. And then everyone will open their eyes, and so a round proceeds. Everybody will say one word related to the clue, and for the hacker and the admin, it's related to both clues. And then at the end of that round, everyone will vote, pointing at who they think either the hacker or the admin is. If they get it right, that team wins, the team of 2 loses. If they get it wrong, the hacker and the admin have a chance to reveal themselves and guess who their partner is. And that's how they win the game. If they don't reveal and they don't guess, another round is played. Whoever was voted for is knocked out. And you keep on going until one team wins. So I think it'd be kind of fun. It's $23 Canadian, $25 Australian, $18 US. But it's also $21 Australian to ship it overseas, almost doubling your cost, which really isn't the greatest out there. But for all of you Australians out there, if you wanted this Codenames Just One, Spyfall, Avalon hybrid, check this one out and maybe you will help push it over the funding line. The bones of the game do look solid, so I wanted to mention it. If you're interested, that is Monday, February 21st at 4:28 a.m. So do it before you go to sleep, I guess. Or just live in Australia. Now, next up, we also have another one that isn't funding. This one's at 66% funding, but it actually looks really quite fun. And that is a game called Last Resort, where you are going to be managing a space tourism business. And at the beginning of every round, you're going to choose how you're going to advertise. Everyone's going to pick a card and how they're going to advertise. But if you pick the same card as other people, your advertisements malfunction because, well, I guess because in the budget space hotel industry, all the budget space code that you use doesn't allow for other people to use the same code at the same time. That's how it works. But you're going to check out your customers, get paid. These little meeples are in specific rooms and specific spots in your hotel, and then you're going to draft new tourists to come to your hotel. And it doesn't matter if that family arrived and they wanted to be in the same hotel all together. No, you are part of the space tourism hotel conglomerate, and you get to just pluck people out of the center at will and shove them into their rooms and make them pay you at the end of their very, very enjoyable stay. Or you just eject them from the space lock if there's no room that fits that particular colored meeple in your building. You wanted them, but then you didn't. You just wanted them so your competitors couldn't have them. Of course, they will probably die, and more importantly, leave a negative review. But that's the price of the space hotel business, baby. And this one, I don't know, the theme really appeals to me. They've done a great job in terms of selling it to me. And I can see immediately how this game is going to play out, and I think the core loop of the game does look fun. And the price point isn't horrible as well. It's £25 or 34 US or 44 Canadian, and that to me feels like a pretty decent price point, especially nowadays. So I'm really not sure why this isn't yet funding, because even the shipping does look okay on this one. It's £5 if you live in the UK or China. It's $10 to ship it to the US. That feels all right. It's about $20 to ship it to Canada, which is starting to get a little bit too much for me. But if you are in those first few shipping zones, it feels like an okay deal. There is no VAT for the US or the EU or the UK. I mean, I know there wasn't going to be VAT for US anyway, but that is significant in this day and age, and not a lot of people do this. But they're a UK company, and so obviously they're saying, yeah, we don't want everyone to have to pay VAT because we understand how horrible it is. And so they have certain customs-friendly locations, and so the UK and the EU are part of that. But that is something that they should be highlighting on their campaign page, and they are not. And it's just buried at the bottom of the FAQ. But hey, that's why they pay me the big bucks, to find these sorts of things out for you. So yeah, this one does, there must be something wrong with it because it hasn't funded. I don't know, it looks fun, it looks simple, looks fun, and the shipping looks pretty all right too. Definitely want to check out. Maybe I can take credit for it getting over that funding line. That's Monday at 10 a.m. Last resort. Now, next up, we have a game called Chang'an, which is a engine building game where you're trying to build the best city of them all. And it's super simple to pick up. You draw a card from an available row of cards, or you can pay 2 wheat to draw 2 cards. Then you get to play those cards into the top half of your city and get resources for them. And then you get to build one of those cards into the bottom half of your city. Once somebody's built 9 buildings, the game's over. You count up the points, you see who wins. But what is kind of neat is that you can shift cards around on the top to different gates. That's what each individual section is called, because each individual gate provides only 1 resource. But your cards can potentially produce 2 resources, it looks like. So you can play some cards into one spot, get the resources, and then shift them all over into the second spot. But you also have to plan out how you're going to shift things over, because it's only the top card that is available to be built into that corresponding city section. And then when you build the building, you get to trigger the effect of that building, which usually involves paying something extra and doing something. You know, something beneficial. So this one looks, I would describe it as perfectly good. If you like light engine builders, this might be one to look out for. This is also only 30 euros or $44 Canadian, which also feels like potentially the right price point for this, because you get some nice wooden tokens. You can add on metal coins for 6 euros, 20 metal coins, which honestly, as metal coins go, that's a decent markup. I mean, I of course would always want it to be cheaper, but it's not bad for Kickstarter. That being said, you can also buy the latest Kickstarter version of their previous game, Momiji, for 25 euros, but it's also sold at 401 Games, my local game store, for 22.95 Canadian. So I would imagine if you were to wait on this one, you would probably be able to find it at some sort of retail channel, and you wouldn't have to pay the 12 to 15 euro shipping that would be required. I mean, maybe you won't get wooden components, but it's just a light game. You might. I'm not actually sure what the difference between the retail and the Kickstarter version will be. They don't really specify, so who knows? But if you are interested in that one, the engine building does seem solid and fun. Wouldn't be the worst pick on this list. That is next Monday at 2 p.m. And then finally, to finish up the week, we have Hens, where you're applying cards from your hand to make a harmonious barnyard. The most harmonious barnyard possible. So harmonious and yet so different and unique that there are clearly dogs pretending to be hens in the mix. Tell me that's not a Bichon Frise, and I'll tell everyone you know that you're a goddamn liar. And probably a hen thief, now that you've outed yourself. Anyway, it's a simple game. You're creating a 12-card grid. You're going to play a card every turn. Draw 2 cards, play 1. And hens of the same type can be beside each other, no problem, and you want to match them up. But hens of a different type, if they're beside each other, they have to be either 1 higher or lower in value, because each hen has a value assigned to them as well. And the reason for that is, it goes back to the history of chickens and chicken intermingling. It's very complicated. You wouldn't get it. You didn't even notice that that was a dog dressed up as a hen. Anyway, this is 15 euro or 22 bucks Canadian plus €7 shipping to the US. And that makes this still, I don't know, a decent price point. Probably still too expensive. But keep in mind for this one, there will be no pledge manager. They're gonna do it live! So if you are backing, hey, keep your eyes peeled on the Kickstarter message system to make sure that you don't miss putting in your address. It boggles my mind that people can forget that they back Kickstarters. I'm telling you, if you dropped $300 or something on a large Kickstarter and then just forgot about it and missed all of the 5 or 6 emails saying, hey, we need your address over and over and over again, you're purchasing too many Kickstarters. That's just a fact. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, to be the bearer of bad news, but that's just a fact. Anyway, if you are interested in buying Hens, that is Tuesday at 10 a.m. Next Tuesday, the 22nd. And that's it. That's what we have for the week. A pretty big week, and with some decent choices all throughout. So every week I do a pick for me and a pick for you. The pick for me is something that I am the most interested in, and the pick for you is something that I want to highlight or I think is a decent deal or has vast appeal. It changes based upon my own whims of that week. But this week, the pick for me, I think I have to go with the one that I'm the most interested in. I think I have to go with Ostia. Maybe it's because I just played Trajan recently, so it's at the forefront of my brain, and it's at the forefront of how angry I am at how bad I was at planning in that game. And so I want a second crack at it. Maybe that's the reason. But the system of Trajan was so satisfying to me, if infuriating, that I feel like I can see the merits of Ostia, and I can see the brain burner sort of situation that you throw yourself into, and I like the workings of it. I like the twists to the system, and I think this one looks kind of cool, just from my own personal preferences. But hey, that's why it's the pick for me. So yeah, I think Ostia for sure. Again, it's not one that I'm going to get. It's just one that I'm interested in talking about, and I like thinking about and going, oh yeah, mechanically, yeah, that looks kind of neat. And I think it would be enjoyable for anyone who likes kind of heavier Euros, which I do. And then the pick for you, this is tricky. I know everyone's screaming at their screens right now. It's mind management. Obviously, it's mind management. Mind management is the best thing in the world. Haven't you heard the news? Everyone's favorite 2021 game. And I get that. But this is specifically for the deluxe version of mind management. And I really have to double down and say that I don't think it is worth triple for what you would get in retail, especially having heard from people who I trust, who are members of the Discord, who are saying that the component quality of the base version is still really good. Of course, they also opted for the deluxe version and were very excited for it, but the fact that if the retail version components are good, and most retail versions are, for me, it doesn't make sense to go triple the cost when I could just pre-order a restock for the base game. So I think mind management does look really fun, and it is one that I'm absolutely interested in playing, if not acquiring down the line. But for this instance, since it is only the deluxe, it is not the pick for you. I think the pick for you, surprisingly, is actually going to be Last Resort. I know it hasn't crossed its funding yet, but I wouldn't let that necessarily scare you. It looks fun for what it is. It really does. Just a simple drafting of meeples. I think the trying to figure out if it's worth playing the same action card as someone else or not, I think that could be an interesting moment to occur around the game. This is what I look for in games, those sorts of moments that will happen over the course of playing it. And I think with Last Resort, there will be some fun moments of, do I do it? And it's still in this sort of light game capacity. So Last Resort is my official pick for you. If you skip that section, I don't know, go back, take a look at it. It's not for everybody, but I think it's an all right price point. And I think if you're in one of the first 2 zones of shipping, that's also like a decent amount to get it shipped to you. So that's my pick for you, Last Resort. Anyway, that is it for the week. Thank you so much again for being here week after week. It's friggin' awesome hanging out with you all. It really is. I'm so thrilled to be here. I'm so thrilled that you are here. I hope you're having a wonderful week. I gotta stop the video now and get back to my other job so that, my boss doesn't fire me, but this is a great time. As always, let me know what you are backing. Let me know what you're interested in upcoming. I love knowing what I should be on the lookout for and what has moved you to spend your hard-earned cash on hopefully an enjoyable experience. I like covering this sort of thing. I feel like the value of Kickstarter isn't always the best. In fact, it's often the worst. But I like doing this weekly thing, covering the games, because if you go back and watch all the crowdfunding countdowns, well then you will have looked at every single game leaving Kickstarter for the last, I don't know how long I've been doing it. 7 months maybe? I forget. Anyway, it takes a lot of research, but I have fun doing it, and I appreciate all of you sticking around and letting me know what you think and letting me know what you are excited for and what games look interesting. So with that, that's it for the week. Get out of here. My name's Chris George. I do not have a catchphrase, but on behalf of me and Jeff Probst, happy Valentine's Day. I love you. And I'll see you in the next one.